It all began 3 years ago when I moved to the outskirts of the city for work. My company gave me a place, an apartment in a newly developed complex, still under construction. Most blocks were unfinished, and only a handful of people had moved in. Mine was Block B, 5th floor, flat 503. It was quiet, too quiet sometimes. On the second week, I noticed something strange. My apartment overlooked the complex's central courtyard, but from my balcony, I could also see a smaller building, off to the side, half buried in trees. It looked old and unmaintained, completely out of place among the new towers. No lights, no signs, just one narrow path leading to it. Out of curiosity, I asked the building guard about it. He stared for a moment too long and said, "There's no building there, sir. Only trees." I thought he was joking. But when I checked the blueprint of the site, which I found online, he was right. There was no building marked in that area. That night, I looked out again. It was still there, gray, silent, almost waiting. The next morning, around 11 a.m., I followed the narrow trail behind the trees. The path led to the doorless entrance of the building. It looked like some kind of abandoned clinic or school, with cracked tiles and an old plaque that had been scratched out completely. Vines crawled across its windows like veins. Inside, it smelled of wet concrete and metal. The air was heavy. I stepped in. That was the first time I felt it, pressure, like the walls were breathing. Each room looked the same. Empty beds, rusted cabinets, and scribbles on the walls in chalk. The writing was in a language I couldn't recognize. Some symbols, some numbers, some patterns. But in the third room, I found something chilling. I stood at the doorway, confused. The room was familiar. At first, I thought it was just a strange coincidence. But the more I looked, the more I knew. This was my flat. Block B, 5th floor, flat 503. Same layout, same old off-white paint on the walls. The bed was the same type, same bed sheet, even. Curtains were the exact color I bought online 6 months ago. The desk was scratched on the left side, like mine. Even the plug socket hanging loose in the corner, exactly like my room. It felt like I was in a mirror world in my room. I walked in slowly, my heart pounding. There was a strange silence inside, heavy, like someone had been waiting. I scanned the room with my phone's flashlight, and that's when I saw the TV. It sat on a low wooden stand where my study table would normally be. It looked old, boxy, like something from the early 2000s. My actual flat didn't even have a TV. And yet, this one was plugged in. The red light blinked. Suddenly, it turned on by itself. I jumped. The screen flickered, then steadied. A grainy image appeared. It was me. In the video, I was unlocking the front door of flat 503, dragging in 2 heavy bags. Wearing the same blue hoodie I wore when I moved in. The date in the corner of the screen said April 1st, 2025. That was the exact day I shifted in. I watched myself walking around the flat, stretching my arms, laughing on a phone call. It was real footage, not staged, not acted. Someone had filmed me, somehow. Then came footage of me cooking noodles, sitting on the floor, sleeping, checking my phone, small, normal things, but from different angles. Angles that didn't exist in my flat. From the ceiling, from inside the cupboard, from the bathroom door. I started sweating. My hands shook as I held my phone. The room suddenly felt much smaller, the air heavier. The video kept playing. And now, it showed something I didn't remember. It was around 2 a.m. midnight in the video. I was sleeping. The lights were off. Then, I sat up, slowly, like I had been pulled by strings. In the footage, I stood up and walked into the hallway. I turned toward the main door and just stood there. Silent. Still. For 5 minutes. Then 10. And then I started unlocking the door. In complete silence, I opened it. The hallway outside was dark. I stepped outside and looked left, then right. Then I looked straight at the camera, into the lens. I quickly stepped back. The video kept going. Now it showed me coming back into the flat. But I wasn't alone. There was a man behind me. Tall, wearing a black coat, face blurred. He walked in, stopped near the door, and then turned around. He didn't go anywhere else. Just stood near the door. For hours, I never saw him. In the video, I went straight back to sleep like nothing happened. And the man stood there, watching me, until morning. Then he was gone. The footage kept jumping ahead. Day by day, every night, I did the same thing. Woke up at 2 or 3 a.m., opened the door, and stood outside. Sometimes I spoke to people who weren't there. Sometimes I just stared down the staircase. Always sleepwalking, always unaware. But one night, something different happened. The video timestamp changed. May 3rd, 2025. Tomorrow. I was on my balcony, drinking tea. Birds chirping. Normal. Then, a loud knock at the door. I walked to open it. No one was there. I stepped out. And then, the door shut behind me. Locked. I turned around to knock, but my hand froze midair. The camera zoomed in on my face. Something was wrong with my eyes. They were gray, lifeless. Then I collapsed. My head hit the railing. Blood. The screen cut to black. No music, no sound, nothing. Just silence. I couldn't breathe. This wasn't some hallucination. This was real video. My flat. My life. Suddenly the walls in this room where I'm standing now began to creak, softly at first, then louder, like something moving behind them. I ran. I didn't even look back. I bolted out of that room, down the hallway, and through the door of the building. When I reached the main road, I turned. There was nothing behind me, just thick trees and an empty plot of land. I left that apartment the next week. Didn't tell my landlord, didn't explain. I just packed and vanished. When I told the police, they said no such building ever existed. No camera footage, no witness. And the path I took? Blocked by construction debris. But here's what still keeps me awake. Last night, while walking past my living room, I saw the reflection of someone else standing behind me in the black screen of my turned-off TV. Who is that?